So with only 10 games left of this championship season, I thought that now would be a good time to give you guys my final thoughts on how I see the league table shaping up come the end of the season. What I've done for today's video is I've gone over to the championship table calculator website. I'll leave a link to that in the description down below. I've inputted what I believe to be realistic results between now and the end of the season, and that's formulated the table for how the championship could be lining up come the end of the season. So it'd be interesting to know if you guys went ahead and did the same. How was your league table looking come the end of the season, and how does it compare to mine? Before we do hop into that though, I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. As always, their link will be in the top line of the description down below. If you want to keep up to date with all the latest news and ongoings in the championship or around the footballing world in general, then OneFootball is the best place to go ahead and do that. If you are heading off on any match days watching your club, the best place to keep updated with the rest of the championship as goals do go in is OneFootball. You can get live updates to your phone. I always use it when I'm on North End, and especially keeping up to date with all the sides that are currently around progression in the playoff picture. It's a really handy one to have and keep updated with how the league table is shaping up. So like I say, OneFootball, link down below. But without any further ado, let's hop into this. So as you can see to the side of me, that is the championship table that I've come up with after inputting what I believe to be quite realistic results between now and the end of the season. So without further ado, let's work our way from the bottom upwards. So starting out at the bottom of the championship, for me, in my prediction, I have got Luton Town sat there. They are there in real life, and what's interesting about the championship this season is I don't think that even with 10 games to go, any side has been completely wrote off yet. You know, Luton find themselves there at the moment, but they've given them a fighting chance, winning 3 out of their last 5 matches. Looking at their running from now to the end of the season though, they've still got quite a few of the playoff chasers to play, and it's going to be if they can find any form away from home for the rest of the season, if they are going to manage to avoid the drop. You know, they've been fairly consistent now and again so far this season at getting results at home. You know, not many people saw them picking up a result against Brentford, but they went ahead and did that. It's just been away from home and the fixtures that they have left. I'm not sure if they've got enough games in there. Fair play if they go ahead and prove me wrong. Coming in 23rd and finishing on 48 points, I do have Barnsley. They're currently on the same amount of points as Luton at this point in time, but looking at their fixtures from now until the end of the season, I do think they have a slightly easier running and a few more opportunities to pick up points here and there. I think that since Struber has come into Barnsley, we have seen a gradual improvement in terms of performances. They've been scoring more goals. Coley Woodrow, someone who I'm sure is going to attract a lot of interest in the summer, has been someone who has been lighting it up for them recently. But will they have enough to stay up? It's going to be cut really close. I mean, you can see on my championship predictions there's only 3 points separating 18th to 23rd, which is absolutely ridiculous. Barnsley still have a couple of the sides to play who are around them. They've still got that game against Luton in a couple of weeks, which is going to be pivotal to both sides' seasons. I'm not sure if they've quite got enough games left, but if they do go ahead and do it, fair play to them. You know, my prediction there says they'll go very close. And as the final club getting relegated, I do have Hull City being relegated by 1 point. Now, they've not won any of their last 10 matches. If that run of form continues for the next 10, then they will be relegated. Like, there's no if, buts or maybes. Clubs above them and below will continue to pick up points, and Hull will be left in the relegation zone then. So can I see an upward trending form for the final 10 matches? Looking at their fixtures, I'm not so sure. They've been hit with an injury crisis at the back lately, which isn't going to help them. You know, Reece Burke and Device are both out injured for the next following weeks. Defensively, they have been in absolute tatters lately. Even on my predictions there, I've got them winning 2 matches, drawing 2 matches, and then losing 6 for the remaining 10 fixtures, which I think is reasonable. That still has them going down in this prediction. So Hull, I think, understandably will be quite nervous for the rest of the season. It will go very close, but I just think they're going to concede way too many goals now. In 21st position and just avoiding the relegation zone by 1 point, I have got Charlton Athletic finishing there. Now, Charlton find themselves maybe a little bit lucky because of their form at the start of the season. If it wasn't for that fantastic first couple of months of the season, Charlton really would be in quite a situation at this point in time. You know, they have been gradually falling down the championship, and come the final weekend, there is a real possibility that they could find themselves in that bottom 3. I think there's just about enough winnable games in there that they should be able to just get over that 50-point mark to go ahead and avoid relegation. You know, the next 2 matches are against Middlesbrough and Hull City. A big opportunity there to pick up some points, but I think they'll just about survive, but the one that's going to go very close for me. Finishing in 20th place, we then have Middlesbrough. They were in action on Monday night, a 2-2 draw against Nottingham Forest, which does extend their winless run now to 10 matches. So if they're not able to find an upward trending form for the rest rest of the season, then they could seriously be facing the drop. At one point in the season, it looked like Jonathan Woodgate had finally found the formula at Middlesbrough, but lately their performances have regressed. Going forward, they have looked a little bit awkward and stiff at times. However, I look at that squad and it's one of those where I think they shouldn't really be in the position that they are in. I've sort of gone back and forth with what I've made of Jonathan Woodgate so far this season and the job he's been given to do at Middlesbrough, whether I think he's delivering and doing a good job there. If they were to go down with that squad, I think it would be a disaster. In 19th, we then got Stoke City, another club who I think you could say the same thing about Middlesbrough. It would be an absolute disaster if they were to be relegated with that squad. In the majority of matches that I've watched Stoke in over the past 2 months, they've at least been competitive in the majority of them, and I think that will serve them well. Their home form has been strong on the whole lately, and looking at their home fixtures between now and the end of the season, I think they've at least got 4 very winnable home matches in there, which if they are able to fully capitalise on those matches, that in itself could be enough to keep Stoke up. Finishing above them, we then have Huddersfield. Now, Huddersfield will be happy that they've got a bit of a buffer between themselves and the bottom 3 at this point. They're 4 points above the relegation zone as of recording this video, and looking at their fixture running, they do still have quite a few tricky fixtures in there, although saying that, Huddersfield are that sort of club who can pull it out the bag sometimes. You know, we saw them beat Bristol City the other week where not a lot of people thought they'd get through that game. What I like about Huddersfield is they do have firepower going forward. They are a very hot and cold side where one week they'll be scoring 4 goals, the next week they'll be conceding 3. I think that level of inconsistency will mean they will still be within that relegation picture come the end of the season, but I think that with them having at least like 3 recognised goal scorers in that squad, they should just about have enough to get over the line. I think they will by outscoring a lot of the sides below them. And then up in 17th, we have Wigan Athletic. Now, Wigan have come back into form at just the right point in time of the season. A few weeks ago, I was saying I think that Paul Cook's time's up there. You know, with the squad he's got there, he's vastly underachieving. They couldn't hit the back of the net. They were relying on someone like Che Dunkley, their centre-back, to get them the goals, but out of absolutely nowhere, suddenly they're keeping more clean sheets. They've not conceded in their last 3 championship matches. Came through that game against West Brom fantastically, and have also been scoring more goals. You know, Kiefer Moore's hit a real hot streak lately. I think if they do manage to maintain a similar run between now and the end of the season, they'll have more than enough to stay up. Then we move on to the sides who are going to be in mid-table come the end of the season. Aren't really going to have much to play for in the final 10 matches, so the flip-flops could be coming on and people could be on their holidays before the season is over. The first team of that is going to be Reading coming in 16th. Reading are an impossible side to read. You never really know what you're going to get from them week to week. I'll be interested to see what their decision is with Mark Bowen over the summer, whether they fully back him as their manager in the long run or not. We've seen very mixed performances from Reading throughout Bowen's time there, so I'm interested to see what the fan base thinks that in general over the summer. 15th, we got QPR. They're on a decent run at the moment. They're unbeaten in their last 5 matches. I think that they fall into the danger of falling off a little bit come the end of the season when they've got nothing to play for. I think they'll continue to score goals. Defensively, more mistakes could creep into their game, but it'll just be a typical end of the season finish for them, I think. Sheffield Wednesday, I think their season is bound to fizzle out. To be honest, it's been fizzling out for the past couple of months now. Gary Monk doesn't seem to have the formula right there at the moment, and something does need to change. Interestingly enough, they are in action tonight in the FA Cup against Man City, so I'll be keeping my eye on that game, and I'm quite interested to see what does happen come the end of it. But for Sheffield Wednesday, I don't think they'll be pulling up too many trees for the rest of the season. I think they may slide down even further, perhaps. In 13th, we got Derby. Now, Derby have the potential to finish a little bit higher than that, but looking at their fixtures from now until the end of the season, they've actually got a really tough run in. The only sides they play in the bottom half of the table are Reading and Birmingham, who find themselves in a good run of form at the moment. Apart from that, everyone else they're playing is either going for the top 2 this season or is in contention for the playoffs. So Derby actually have a really tough run in. They're capable of finishing much higher than that because I think they're playing quite well at the moment. You know, they got a good dynamic going forward since Rooney's come into the midfield. Chris Martin's doing well for them. Tom Lawrence has been fantastic since the start of the new year. But like I say, they just got a tough run in, so I think that may hold them back a little bit. We then got Birmingham in 12th, another club who's capable of finishing maybe a little bit higher than this actually. Birmingham are on a fantastic run of form at the moment. Scott Hogan has found himself recapturing that form that we all knew him for at Brentford, scoring 7 goals since signing for Birmingham in January. He's been absolutely terrific for them, but Birmingham still have to play quite a few of the top 6 chasing packs, so they could have still quite the influence on the top 6 come the end of the season, but I think they'll ride it out for the rest of the year and have a consistent finish. And then we really get into the chasing pack for the top 6 this season. So coming in 11th place, we've got Cardiff. They're currently 5 points off the top 6. It's a bit of a long shot that they'll go ahead and make it in there come the end of the season. In my prediction, I've got them falling off slightly. I think the injury to Lee Tomlin in the long run isn't going to help them for the rest of the season, especially in away games when they're looking for that bit more creativity. I still think their home record is going to be fairly consistent consistent from now until the end of the season. They've got quite a few winnable games at home, but come away from home when they're looking for that bit more magic, I'm not sure they've quite got that in their locker. In 10th place, we then got Millwall, another club similar to Cardiff, also within the outside chance of making it into the top 6. They're currently 5 points off. To be honest, Millwall have got a decent run in from now to the end of the season. They're quite similar to a lot of the chasing pack at the moment, where no one's really capable of stringing together like 3 or 4 wins, which is really going to propel them up the league. The thing with Millwall at the moment is they've just been drawing too many matches. If they can turn some of those draws into wins for the rest of the season and put together a consistent run, which they are capable of with the football they've been playing lately under Gary Rowett, then who knows, they could stand that outside chance of sneaking in there. I just think that there'll be probably one too many draws in there for the rest of the season for Millwall. After that, in 9th, we've then got Blackburn Rovers. Now, only 3 points separates Blackburn and the playoffs at this point in time, so they definitely have a realistic chance of finishing there. Quite similar to a lot of the sides around them. They've also been drawing a lot of matches recently during their last 3 in the Championship. However, they are on a very consistent run, and in 2020, they've not lost many football matches. They've been a really tough team to beat. Over the season as a whole, their defensive unit has been very strong, and considering the key players that they've got injured moving forward, they've actually done really well to get themselves into this situation. People have stepped up to the plate lately. People like Adam Armstrong and Stuart Downing, who I've been really impressed with in midfield. They stand a fighting chance. I just think, quite similar to Millwall, there'll probably be one too many draws in there. In 8th place and missing out on the playoffs by 1 point, we then have Bristol City. Now, Bristol City have quite a tough run in for me for the rest of this season, and they're on a bit of a dodgy run at the moment, although it is in Bristol City's nature. Once they have got out of a dodgy run to go on this miraculous winning streak, if they're able to put that together from now to the end of this season, they could be looking quite good for the playoffs. Obviously, nothing in it with Bristol City at the moment. They're only 2 points behind Preston in 7th. What I found absolutely baffling was looking into Bristol City's stats this season. It's quite bizarre that they find themselves in the position that they do in the table in terms of sort of expected goals, touches inside the opposition box, actual shots this season. They're in the bottom 5 teams in the Championship. Now, that shows that they are sort of an effective counter-attacking side, but when they are actually on the front foot, they've not been all too effective so far this season. Also added to that, their record against sides in the top half of the Championship hasn't been great so far this season, and 7 of their last 10 matches are all against sides in the top half of the table. That for Bristol City this season has been their real Achilles heel, and if they're not able to rectify that, it's looking like they may fall short. In 7th place and just missing out on the playoffs by goal difference on 72 points, I then have Swansea City. Now, I was a little bit surprised that Swansea ended up being so high in my prediction, but for the remainder of this season, the fixtures they've got, I actually fancy Swansea to have a real push for the top 6. They're currently 4 points away from it, and it's the same story with a lot of the other sides around them at the moment. They've just been drawing way too many matches. If they're able to turn those draws into a few more wins for the rest of the season, especially with some of the winnable games that they've got at home, I do think there is the real chance in there that they could have that late push for the top 6. I think that the business that they did in January has really helped them. The signing of Brewster especially, I thought was a brilliant signing. Swansea, I think, could really sneak under the radar. So then making it into the playoffs, finishing in 6th position, we do have Preston North End finishing in their own goal difference. Now, Preston, the more I look at our running for the rest of the season compared to everyone else around us, it's not all too bad. Like, on paper, and I know this is the worst thing to do in the Championship because it's just ridiculously unpredictable, and any game that we try and predict ends up going the other way. On paper though, Preston's next like 6 games are all very winnable, and that worries me a little bit because I think that this is the best opportunity we're going to have in quite a while, really, with the squad of players we've currently got, the fixtures that we got for the rest of the season, and the position that we currently find ourselves in. It's one of those things where I'm just sort of waiting for us to blow this opportunity. Like, we've lost our last 2 matches and we still found ourselves in the top 6. That's after coming off the back of a really tough fixture run in. Our fixtures do ease up now. Our home form's still been very strong for this season, and I do see quite a few of those away games that we got left as real opportunities to pick up points from. I do think that it's important that we do capitalise on these next 6 fixtures though, as our last 4 really do look quite tricky against Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Birmingham and Bristol City. We're going to need to find ourselves with a bit of a buffer on the rest of the top 6 because I do see us dropping points in that time of the season. Added to that as well, Ben Pearson's also out for up to 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. That's not going to help us. You know, our record without Ben Pearson, we do struggle in those matches. But hey, I think it's going to go right down to the wire, and I'm going to back the boys to just about scrape into the playoffs. It will be very close. In 5th place, we then got Brentford. Now, it's no guarantee that Brentford will even go ahead and make it into the playoffs. They're on a bit of a dodgy run at the moment in the Championship without winning their last 5 matches, their longest winless run in the Championship so far this season, and they're going to want to put that right sooner rather than later. I do look at their fixtures for the remainder of the season. I think that they should have enough winnable matches in there to go ahead and pick their form back up. You know, if their front three gets back on form, then you'd think that'd be too much firepower. They've still got 5 of the bottom 9 championship clubs left to play this season, and you'd think that in those games alone they'd be able to accumulate enough points. Defensively though, I do worry about Brentford at the moment. They've been conceding a lot of cheap goals, and ever since Janssen's been out injured out of the side, they've not quite been the same team with the same composure. I think they'll find their mojo back going forward, but defensively, I think there will be a couple more slip-ups in there for the rest of the season. In 4th place, we've got Nottingham Forest with 8 points currently separating them from automatic promotion. It's looking like that one will be a step too far for them. It was a bit of an opportunity missed, we thought, on Monday night. You know, I thought they would go to the Riverside and pick up all 3 points there. In the end, it was them rescuing a late point with that late equaliser from Lewis Grabban in the end. And another club quite similar to Brentford, who has slowed down in recent weeks, only 1 win in their last 5 matches. Nottingham Forest are an impossible side to call this season, and looking at their fixtures from now until the end of the season, I don't even know which games I fancy Forest in really, because against the top 6 they seem to be quite strong, and then against those sides who are battling it out for relegation this season, those are the ones they tend to slip up in. So Nottingham Forest are a bit of a funny side really, where I think they'll actually thrive on playing the teams around them, of which they still have quite a few left to play. They've got a 6-point lead on 7th place Bristol City at the moment, and with no one else really looking like they'll be that consistent from now until the end of the season, Forest should go ahead and have a comfortable finish, I think. Then finishing in 3rd place, you'll be able to tell the rest of the table from here basically. I have got Fulham missing out on automatic promotion by 4 points. They're currently 5 points behind Leeds in the table as of recording, and they've got an interesting running from now until the end of the season. Their next 3 games could see their season completely fall apart. They've got games against Bristol City, Brentford and Leeds, all of which look to be tricky games, and you know, if they lose all 3 of them, they'll be completely out of the picture for the top 2. But I do think that Fulham's form sort of depends on what Leeds are able to do for the rest of the season. Like, if we see Leeds slip up in a couple of matches and Fulham really sense that the opportunity is there to catch them, then we could see them go on a ridiculous run and win their last like 7 matches of the season and look unstoppable in that time. The last 2 matches I thought would be good tests to see where Fulham are at the moment, playing Swansea and Preston, 2 playoff chasers. They came through those 2 matches with 6 points. On the whole, they've been quite good defensively this year, forgetting about that game they had against Barnsley. There's games to be won in there for Fulham, but I just don't think they'll maintain a level of consistency that's going to be able to catch up to Leeds. Which does mean the top 2, I'll reveal it at the same time. We got West Brom winning the league and then Leeds United finishing in 2nd place. So I've got Leeds on 85 points and West Brom winning the league on 86 points. So just 1 point separating these 2 come the end of the season in my prediction, but I have got them each finishing inside the top 2. And that prediction still with Leeds losing 3 games from now until the end of the season. Like, I tried to be quite harsh on Leeds and see those typical sort of Leeds games where I see them potentially slipping up in, and they still came out of my prediction in 2nd place. The reason I think that is because I'm just not sure about the capabilities of many of the sides below them. Fulham are really at the moment the only side who I think maybe with their fixtures could pull together something. But we spoke about this on the video the other week, with the way that Leeds like to play, imposing themselves on the game, having a lot of pressure going forward, create a lot of chances, with the amount of sides that they're playing who are in the bottom half of the table, I just think there's got to be enough points that they're going to be able to accumulate, unless they do have this absolutely bonkers fall apart for the rest of the season. But apart from that, I think it could really be Leeds' year. West Brom are also quite similar in the fact that their fixtures, I think they should be able to accumulate enough points to have that consistency, which is going to be able to see off anyone else below them. We have seen them have a few slip-ups so far this season. You know, we saw them lose that game against Wigan. Throughout December and January, they went on a bit of a dodgy run, but I think Bilic has got the options within that squad to be able to change things around when things aren't working for them, and they've got a few of the sides to play who are in mid-table who aren't going to have much to play for, and I think they should get through enough of those games to just about go ahead and secure promotion. But guys, as you can see on screen now, that is my completed championship table for how I see things happening come the end of the season. So I'd be interested to know from you guys, if you went ahead and did the same thing on the championship table calculator, what table did you come out with? Who was your top 6, who was your bottom 3, and who are you fancying for promotion and relegation? Let me know down below. But guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. So if you're going to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you subscribe for a bit of regular championship content. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.